Okay, we're recording, Grant.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Grant Rowland here with the DMG Gaming Podcast, and as always, I'm joined by the man who puts the ass in Asmongold, my boy Ed Phillips. What up, my boy?
What's
Maybe
up,
not.
man?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Do you? I don't know.
I don't know.
God,
Okay.
don't do that.
I don't know.
You like Tommy want wingy.
Oh man, I love that movie.
Oh, it was great.
All right,
They don't make movies like that no more.
Grant.
What?
We got we're gonna react to an Asmongold video he just put out
Okay.
talking about the AAA gaming studios
Oh
and
boy,
what they're putting out.
a lot of
Okay.
garbage.
Yeah, a lot of garbage. But we're going to just watch it and give our 2 cents on it. You ready to watch it?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's let me share that screen, Grant. Let me share that screen, Grant. Let me know when you see that, Grant.
Why is he making that face?
Huh?
Why is he making that face?
I don't know why he's making that face. He always makes face, dude. Like all his thumbnails, always some type of face. All right.
Like, you know what? I will say this: for as much money as this man has, this dude's got like an average like 15-year-old bedroom. That's what my bedroom looked like when I was 15. Like,
He doesn't care, dude.
I know he doesn't care, but it's just funny. Like, it's funny that he doesn't care.
He did a video a while back explaining it, like how
It's
he
just funny,
lives,
like-
how he, you know.
No, I'm
how
just
he-
no, dude. I'm not
Yeah.
knocking it. It's just funny. I think it's just hilarious. He's just got it's like a
Yeah.
15-year-old bedroom.
Leave the dude alone, man.
He's got more money than me,
Let
so
him live how he wants to live.
hey, dude's got a lot
Although-
of money, so he's doing something right.
He needs to stay healthy though.
Eat
All right.
more.
Yeah, he needs to stay healthy because he is one of the gems of the YouTubing world. So
He should hit the gym. I wonder what happened if he hit the gym.
I'll get swolled up
Yeah.
Asmongold.
Oh man,
Yeah. All right. All right, Grant. So let's start watching it.
let's do it. Go.
All right, hit it now.
Hi guys, it's me again, and today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite AAA gaming. We're going to look at where it's been, why it exists right now, and where I think it's going, which is going to be the majority of them into the garbage. I've said this before, that if you build 100 bridges and you suck one dick, you're not a bridge builder, you're a dick sucker.
That is
But
true.
if you suck 100 dicks and you only build one bridge, you're Ubisoft. And the problem now is that we've got a lot of companies like that because they focus so much on trying to make these games and focus.
Does he write this shit down, or is he just kind of freestyle this stuff? Because that was good,
He might have notes. I don't know, but I think he freestyles most of the stuff.
dude. That was good. That was
Like,
gold.
He just
I
brings
like
up a topic that he wants to talk about, and he'll post videos about it.
That was good. I like that. It's true.
There's been recent news we're going to cover on our podcast tomorrow about Ubisoft.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Their
It's
financial turmoil. So it's funny he brings them up because we bring them up all the time too.
I know.
But they're heading towards imminent bankruptcy right now.
Oh yeah.
For next year.
It's bad.
And they have one game on the docket that can really save them, and that's Assassin's Creed Shadows.
And they keep pushing it back because they keep getting sued.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh man.
Is that 10-cent thing going to come true or not? We'll see.
Well, the thing about it is the CEO. That's the problem when you have the CEOs who are the majority of shareholders.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Focusing on making them the most broad audience possible, making them have everything for everyone, that we get to a situation where one size fits none. And I think this has been an ongoing issue. It's been going on, I think, especially in the last 10 years. I think COVID accelerated the goal with this because of how much more money gaming is making now. COVID was kind of like a multiplier effect on that. But it's been going on for a while, and I want to explain kind of.
You know, COVID was we mentioned that I think last podcast, right?
Yeah, COVID 2020 was like a portal, man. It's like we went through that portal, and it's like nothing's ever been the same since. Like it's like everything was just kind of you had never thought the world would be like this.
I would love to see the correlation with the, because the games that are coming out now, the big games like Intergalactic, all these other games that have been released this year. And the ones that had really bad character designs and everything like that, and they really turned to like a activist or woke,
Yeah.
kind of shift. And all these games were starting to be developed in that time, right?
Yeah.
2019, 2020, 21, in that shift. And of course, we can bring up Trump also on this, and that, his presidency and some of these games are being developed at the end of his presidency is kind of interesting. So, could you correlate some of this stuff with what we're seeing with these horrible character designs in some of these newer games? Is there a correlation, like an activist mindset to try to put their ideology on these games?
Well, I have a feeling yes, but I also have a feeling that they never thought that we'd be right back here with him going
Yeah.
back into office. Um, so it's
So,
kind
is
of
this going to be a repeat cycle?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It could be. It's
It's
looking like
very
it.
interesting, dude. But what we're seeing now, though, with all these mistakes in the game industry from the past several years, is all these massive layoffs, right?
Yep.
So if they do this again, go through this cycle again, it is going to be catastrophic
Yeah,
for
because
them, for Western game
I
studios.
guarantee at the end of 2021, whenever Biden won and went into office, they thought that
I love how we freeze that right on his.
He looks like wow. Look, I can't say what it looks like on camera, but I can.
Okay, anyway, go ahead.
I feel like that they thought that it was going to be like the end of like we can do whatever we want. We're going to do what we want now,
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like 4 years later, it's kind of like, not so fast, my friend.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's continue.
All right.
Like where AAA gaming came from, because back in the day we're talking about the 90s, even the 80s, right, with arcades and the original consoles. But the 90s and the 2000s and a little bit into the 2010s, right, and not all the way, as we all know, is that AAA gaming was a stamp of approval, a seal of quality. And it's funny now because it's almost the opposite. It's like, well, this is a AAA game, it's coming from this big studio, so we know that it's going to have a number of annoying features. There's probably going to be, you buy the game on Steam and then you have to log on to their additional launcher in order to actually play it. All of these very, very annoying things. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of people.
Dude, the amount of accounts that you have to have nowadays to include subscriptions and stuff like that to access everything is beyond annoying. Like, I just want to buy a game and play the game on whatever without having to sign up for your damn email alerts or have an account for Epic Games, have an account for Ubisoft, all that crap,
Yeah.
EA. Like, I don't want to sign up for the stuff just to play a game.
So that, and he's also right about whenever Ubisoft used to drop a game, you're like, oh shit, Ubisoft, like wow, like this is going to be a good game. Now Ubisoft is getting the LJN treatment. You remember LJN?
Mhm.
LJN was a game creator that was terrible at making video games. Like they made like the Back to the Future NES games. Like none of those games had to do with anything about the movie. They were just awful. So when you saw LJN, you're like, oh god, this is going to suck. Like so that's basically what Ubisoft is now. That's what they've got. That's what they've dissolved to.
Well, he also brought out the 80s, like in 1983 when the video game crash happened.
Yeah.
That was from the mass amount of crappy games that was flooding the market.
There was so many space
And everyone
games.
thought it was like video games was just going to go away. It was
Yep.
not going to be a thing because due to that crash. But of course,
And ET.
Yeah, ET. Then Nintendo came along and saved all that. So to save the Western game industry, who's going to come along? Because Eastern is about to take over.
That's the thing, though.
Who's going to come along and save it?
Exactly. That's the thing. Here's the thing: is it worth saving?
I don't know.
That's the thing you got to look at.
Yeah. All right, let's continue.
People don't enjoy that. And the other big issue that AAA gaming has is that basically a lot of studios, and I think companies are doing this in general. This is something I think that we're also seeing in movies as well, where you're seeing these movies that are being made with these gigantic budgets. Like everything is CGI. There's like all these A-list actors in it, and like the movie has a budget of like over $100 million maybe, or something like that. I don't know really what average movie budgets are, but it's probably even more than that in some cases. And then it makes back like a fraction of that money. And the reason what that does is it makes it to where every single movie has to be Spider-Man. Every single movie has to be attached to an IP that can be attached to a line of toys that can be sold to kids. And so now you don't get as many movies that take risks as much because those risks cost more money, and it's harder to recoup the money back from the risks because you've lost the market of DVDs. And so this has been going on now for quite a while with movies.
Do they still make
and I think
DVDs?
video games now are starting to copy the trend. And what you're seeing now is that everything is two. Everything is the next one of something that already previously existed. And of course, I mean, I say this, and if you guys can see what I'm playing playing Path of Exile 2, okay? So I'm not going to talk too much about that, but that is kind of what my point is that I think that studios like Grinding Gear Games, studios like Warhorse that are making Kingdom Come Deliverance, and other studios that are the more AA like quality studios, I think that the real future is going to be those studios making the AAA games. It's like instead of a AAA publisher or a AAA developer making multiple AAA games, it's going to be one AA publisher, one AA studio making one AAA game. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot more. And I think that whenever you really look at, because like especially live service games, you
Um, yeah, like I agree with that. My issue is, these double A publishers eventually becoming triple A.
It's
Be,
true.
like becoming big, and they start falling into that trap that all these current triple A studios are doing by bloating their staff with all the DEI crap
Mm-hmm.
and really expanding their, I guess, studio too big with a bunch of unnecessary bloat.
Yeah. But
to
what
it.
do we always say? What do we always say about DEI? DEI is something that should happen natural. If you hired people based just on their skills, then the
They got,
DEI would just happen naturally.
yeah, and I think they got to, man, they have to not fall into the trap and continue their original business practices, how they run their company, even when they start becoming, of course, bigger. They
Problem
can't
with
lose
that,
sight of that because they fall into the trap of having listening to this very vocal minority of people, of gamers, like very vocal
very
minority that
vocal
wants them
minority,
to do, fall into the, I guess,
Concord.
Concord. Well, yeah, stuff like that. Like, this is what kind of character you need to create.
Yeah,
He needs to look like this to meet this criteria,
because it makes
and to
everybody feel
meet this,
safe and happy.
yeah, to our check marks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we they can't fall into that. But
The problem with that is when somebody dangles $200 million in front of you.
yeah,
That's the issue.
and Path of Grinding Gearworks took a concept of Diablo 2 and
Correct.
expanded upon it.
Yep.
They didn't, I guess, reinvent the wheel.
No, that's
maybe
what
when
you
it
don't.
comes to the customization, but they took a very popular game and made it their own game, but expanded upon it by a lot.
Correct.
All right, let's go.
You have to have such a finger on the pulse of the actual community of the game. You have to have everybody that's working there really understand it. I think that's what Blizzard had back in the 2000s with Warcraft. And if you look at any of the most popular video game franchises, and you look at the people that make the games are usually very good at those games. For example, like the Final Fantasy 16 guy that went and one-shot the boss in front of a big audience before the game came out. That was really cool, and it showed that, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. He actually knows how to play his own game, which in some cases, like Diablo 4, turned out to not necessarily be the case. And so anyway, what I think has happened is that you've seen these studios like Ubisoft. I think Ubisoft is it's the worst offender, where they're spending $100 million on a game and they're expecting a 20% return. Because would you rather have 20% on $10 million or 20% on $100 million, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the logic that they use, that they're going to just spend more money so they can multiply the largest amount of money possible. And I think that what's happening now is that that is true, but it's also that you double down on a loss when it's not. And I think that's really the situation that we're seeing a lot of these studios run into when they release a game that's effectively a dud. And I think the reason why these games are getting released and they're trash is because consumer interests are changing so much faster than they used to. So think about it like this. There are a lot of games that are in development for, I don't know, like 6 years, for example. 6 years or 4 years in development is very, very common. Think about how much different things were 4 years ago. Well, 4 years ago, we had COVID. Everything was totally different. People were addicted to Genshin Impact, and everybody was spending all day on the internet. Well, you can't necessarily develop a game around that, that context. And 6 years ago, if you started making a game, well, if you just got inspired by Fortnite, man, you're a little bit late now, aren't you? And so what we're seeing now is that we're seeing smaller studios, these AA studios. I think the best example of this, too, that you can use besides grinding gear games is Larian, who made Baldur's Gate 3, is that Baldur's Gate 3 took an incredibly long time to make, but it didn't follow any trends because it didn't need to. There were no, outside pressures, outside investors. Being a publicly traded company was not causing them to have to, monetize the game in a way that was annoying. It was just them making a good game and then delivering it to players. And I think AAA game studios have, instead of becoming, too big to fail, they've become too big to succeed. And I've said this before, and I think that it becomes increasingly more true every year. And you're seeing these massive studios laying off. I didn't even know this. Ubisoft has.
Yeah, we just said that.
Yeah.
But yet, these AAA studios just have lost the concept of what makes a game fun.
Yeah.
And they, the fantasy. I think of Larian Studios when it comes to their Divinity games, and then eventually Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
And how they just engross they allowed you to be engrossed in this fantasy world. Okay, Baldur's Gate 3 based off Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, but it was all fantasy. And we see a lot of people say, well, so everyone's calling that game's woke and it's succeeded. It's like, okay, Baldur's Gate 3 is not woke.
No.
It's not even in that conversation.
No.
It was about choices. And you were allowed to build your own fantasy world and how you wanted to play it.
That's it.
And they encapsulated that so well. But then we look at Dragon Age the Veilguard. They pushed all this. They built a great fantasy setting, a good story for a while, but then they bring in their own ideological New World Western crazy shit into the game.
Correct.
And they destroyed their own fantasy world because they had to inject. We talk about all this time, a lot of times on our podcast, but Tosh and a lot of other things in that game, it felt injected, here in your face.
That's the thing is I think when we talk about woke stuff, I think we've said this on our podcast, we don't say it in a way like everybody else does. Our definition of woke is where it's, because like we've said, we've always said this, we don't mind gay characters, lesbian characters, trans characters, any of that stuff, as long as it makes sense.
And well written, like BG3, like Baldur's Gate 3, dude.
Correct. Like let
all those characters
not
so
be
well written.
Exactly. Like in Dragon Age, if you, first of all, you're getting a speech about pronouns.
Horrible dialogue.
Exactly. You're getting a speech about pronouns. And before somebody jumps in and says, well, you don't have to do that. Well, what if I want to complete the whole game? Yeah. Then yes, I do have to do that. You see what I'm saying?
Dialogue.
So, and then what is it? What do they call it when you have to do the push-ups or whatever?
The barv.
Yeah.
Barv.
What is that?
Got to do a barv.
So
said something wrong. Or
so
someone, you got to do
when we talk about woke stuff, we talk about how does it advance the story? Yeah. Does it advance the story? Does it make the story complete? Or is it just something you just want to happen because you just want to happen?
Is it a check in a box?
Correct.
To make a very small minority happy.
Yeah.
Or to push a, I guess, worldview or ideological view from someone into a story. and, and then it just messes up the fantasy
Yeah, like
because
I
it's
said,
not. I look at this like I look at it like this: Final Fantasy 16, the gay character that was Bahamut,
yeah,
great character, natural, flowing. They showed a gay scene too. Okay, whatever, but
okay,
he was a
whatever.
cool character.
Hmm.
BG3, all those characters that you could be gay with any one of them, pretty much,
Or not. You had a
or
choice.
not. You had the choice, and like none of that was injected. It was your choice. It was either well written or your choice. Final Fantasy 16, the character Bahamut's character was well written. All the other ones, like Dragon Age, is injected, and it
Yeah,
messes up the story. All right, ready to continue?
yeah.
20,000 employees. How do you do that? There are so many people that work probably at these studios that have jobs that are, not particularly like super involved with like the actual creation of the
Yeah.
product. And I think that's very obvious considering that they fire bunches of people and the products keep being made. So the issue is that you have a massive overstaffing, and then you have massive budgets, and then you have massive expectations and a priority system that's created by people who don't actually have the player's interests in mind.
Well,
And
pause
what
that
I'm
real quick.
saying by that is, I think a good example of this.
So another big deal that's going on with this is he said you have massive staffing, but all these people work at home now. So who's overseeing this? Who's overseeing all this shit going on?
Yeah, and
Where's the quality control?
they have so many people working in so many different sections, and a section for this, section of this, and they're huge. The communication becomes an issue. Like
Yeah.
communicating ideas, communicating problems, whatever, it becomes a major issue for a lot of these bigger games.
Here's the
At
thing: is
least the
I know what
development of
goes
these
on.
bigger games.
I know what goes on working like doing this. These people are working at home. They're probably doing an hour's worth of actual work,
Oh yeah,
and they're getting paid for the whole day.
yeah.
That's it.
Management in some of these companies is very weak, and then
Yeah,
above that,
very weak.
even your higher than that is weak also because they're not managing the managers.
Correct. But here's the thing: is how
At
can you
least the
manage
section
that?
heads.
How is that? But how can you do that when you have all these people at home trying to stay? You know what I mean? Like,
You could, but it requires a lot of actual engagement
yeah,
by hire to keep people accountable for everything, and your section heads to keep them accountable, and those section heads keeping their staff that's underneath them accountable consistently. But it requires a lot. And what happens is if you hire a person that fits a great resume for a section head of a certain department, but they're lazy and they don't have people skills, or they just don't want to talk to anybody, and they only shoot out emails, or just, they're very lackadaisical, I guess you could say. That's an issue because
yeah.
you're not having that accountability.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I mean, if nobody's staying on top of them, then what? You eventually get lazy. Like if I can just do what I want, I don't have to
Yeah.
really do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't get in trouble for it,
their boss isn't keeping them accountable,
the sad thing
and they're
is
not going to keep their people accountable.
exactly
And it's domino effect.
the sad thing is I don't know if 20,000 is the right number, but let's just say that. Let's just say it is. There's a lot of fluff there. You could build this same game with 1,000 people, 1,000 good people. That's where that's where they've messed up. Like you could take 19,000 people, send them to the house, and then keep your elite staffers. You're saving money, and you're probably getting a better game. But what they've done is they've taken this $100 million and they've allocated it to nowhere where it needs to go.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay, let's continue.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this going.
Is if you look at a lot of the like video games that have like actors in them, like I think Senua's Saga 2 is a really great example of a game that is made for an audience of gamers that doesn't really exist. So obviously the game was popular for some people, and there were a good number of people that bought and played the game, but the reality is that it really wasn't that big, and they probably didn't recoup their costs.
No.
And what happens is that games journalists and games media, and I think just the games industry itself likes to gas itself up about these types of games, but I don't actually think that these are the types of things that players are actually looking for. And I think that's reflected in the sales, and this happens over and over and over. People play video games because they like playing video games. While there are exceptions, they are very few and far between. And so what's happened is that these studios have convinced themselves they need to do all these things that players don't really care about, and they do them at the expense of the things that players do really care about, which is replayability, actual play, like playing, like the experience you have playing the game in the minute-to-minute basis.
The gameplay.
And I think that really another great example of this, I've been playing like on top of like Path of Exile 2, I've also been playing off-stream Stalker 2. And holy shit, that game is great. And it's made by, again, a AA, a smaller studio, but they've come together to really make an incredible game. And I think having a, like a focus, I remember, there was like a really good metaphor that like in Game of Thrones, King Robert was like, what's stronger, 5 armies or 1 army? And like really it's the 1 army that's a lot stronger. And I think that's what we're starting to see a lot more with these games, is you're seeing these studios that are focusing entirely on making one defined product for a defined audience that they have a finger on the pulse of, and they're able to deliver a product to them that meets their needs and exceeds them in a lot of cases. That is the future for games. And I think also what's going to make this even more the future is the fact that you're going to see a lot of these studios, like the layoffs are going to keep happening. And the reason why is because of different types of ways that you can effectively, like, it's not.
Quit making games for that one person in your office that has pink hair and, crazy personalities. Quit making games for that and quit trying to appease a very small group of people.
And this is
appease
why
everybody with just a great game with good design characters and great gameplay. You can appease everybody with that. But you're trying to appease this very 1% that's probably not even going to play your game, and that's why a lot of your games are failing. Quit making shitty character designs that appeal to no one.
I mean, here's the thing, and this is the truth. I don't care who wants to argue about it or not. The Chinese and the Korean game developers are kicking the North American developers dick in the dirt.
Yep. Just wait for next year. Next year is going to be even worse.
I mean, the thing about it is they're beating the living shit.
Next year is going to be
out of these developers.
Very big for Eastern developers.
I mean, it is insane.
Okay, let's keep going.
Really all AI, but in some cases it is. If you can have one person do the job of 3 people through some sort of procedural generation or some form of technology, well, then you're going to have that happen. And as that happens, it becomes easier and it lowers that bar to entry for the quality that people expect whenever they're paying $70 or $60 for a video game. And so that's where I think AAA gaming is going to go. I think AAA gaming is going to have to become like, I don't know, they're going to have to scale down. And I feel like there are a few exceptions, right? We're always going to have Rockstar, From Software, Capcom, stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. But I think that many of these other studios are probably going to have to narrow down on one or maybe just a couple of IPs and then develop products for just those IPs rather than trying to release a bunch of different products and just like, well, if we sell 1 million of them for $10, we're going to make $10 million. Well, wow, why don't we sell 1 million of them at $1 million or something like that, right? Some variation of this. And it's just like the idea that, well, we can just keep making more money because there's no sense of market saturation. Well, I think that there's very clearly been a market saturation, hasn't there? And we're seeing that, express itself right now as, you see a lot of games that just don't have the marketing. There's just so much of an economy of attention. There's only so many people that can pay attention to so many games. And I think, again, when you have like your story game or whatever that is focused on, motion capturing facial movements, that just doesn't fucking matter to a lot of people. Like, I don't give a shit about that. I don't think a lot of people do. It's nice when the games have it, but I'm certainly not going to play a game because of it. But if a game has good gameplay, I will play a game.
They spend all this time and money to motion capture people, and then the character design looks nothing like the original person.
Ass.
It looks like garbage. Like, it looks really bad. Even the girl they just used for Intergalactic. Like, it looks kind of like her.
Yeah, kind of. It looked like the little boy from Smart Guy, Taj Mowry or whatever his name is.
but they do this for a lot of games. They motion capture, and then it looks horrible.
Then they're like, okay, let's make him him or her as ugly as possible.
And then you look at the Eastern developer; they motion capture real actresses and
It
whatever.
looks exactly the same.
They look almost exactly the same. So I don't understand, like, where is this like disconnect of the Western motion capture, like messing with the actual, I guess, the model of the person
Well, it's like
to
we're
make it
okay. This is what we're gonna do.
a lot more unappealing.
Well, this is what they do every time. Every time it's a woman, they dull her face down to make her look dead in the eyes. Then they make the jaw big, box out the jaw.
I feel like, he actually had a video on this, but like I feel like these masculine traits they try to add to to the character after they do all the motion capturing for female
Nobody
protagonists.
wants that.
No one wants that. They don't want a masculine. You don't have to make a character a female protagonist, heroine, whatever you want to say. You don't have to make them masculine to be badass, dude. Like,
Yeah.
why? Why do they think they have to do that? They don't have to. There's
Yeah.
been so many characters that have been feminine, that have been badass and sci-fi, everything like that.
I mean, could you imagine if they had like the old Lara Croft saying, "What's up, bro? On God, gang, gang." Stupid shit like
Well, they
that.
kind of did that to her in the Netflix.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah.
Not like
Now,
the personality, but like the design. Like, come on, man. You don't
for
have to
real,
do that.
cuz.
What up, cuh? All right.
Because of it, even if the face models go like this. I don't give a shit. And I don't think most other people do either, except for other journalists and people in the industry. So what we're going to see more of is we're going to see these AA studios that, and I think that another reason why this is happening too is like distribution and publishing. Being able to publish a game, think about how many hoops you had to jump through in order to get your game on Nintendo 64, or in order to get your game on Super Nintendo,
Yeah.
or even something like the GameCube. It was much harder to do than now, where all you have to do is, put your game out on Steam.
Unless you're a Castlevania
and then,
64.
Post it on Baldi's subreddit, and if the people like it, maybe he'll watch it. And then it'll be in a YouTube clip, it'll get 100,000 views or more. And so that's pretty easy to do, right? Especially compared to, trying to work around, a Japanese company's expectations in the year 2003. Much, much harder to do. And so nowadays, I think you're seeing much more people able to get into that space and grow in that space much more quickly. And that's why you're going to see those AA studios that focus and narrow in on just like that one solid, really good product. That is where I think the future is going to be for AAA games. And I think that also AAA studios, this is another big problem, is that, what I was saying before with Ubisoft, they've sucked a lot of dicks.
Ubisoft.
And the problem now is that residual taste in people's... let's go ahead and just stop right there. People think that their next games are going to be bad because their previous games have been bad.
That's true.
And so there is a reputational damage that happens that exists beyond the lifespan of the game that has problems. And that's effectively what I'm trying to say. And so what I think that we're seeing with Ubisoft and other studios is that they have this reputational damage, this generational reputational damage. Blizzard's another great example of this. And it makes it to where every game that they release is taken with such a massive grain of salt that a lot of people write it off before it even releases. They don't even know what it is. Oh, it's a Blizzard game. It's a Ubisoft game. It's EA. Of course it's going to be garbage. And so newer studios that focus on one product don't necessarily have that reputation, or at least in a lot of cases they don't. And if they do, they go out of business, right? And I think that's what happens in some cases. But that's where I think the future is of AAA gaming. I think that they have to narrow down and focus more on a number of individual IPs rather than trying to just get a 20% return on as many things as possible. I think that there is very clearly a market saturation. There's very clearly a market cap. And I think that we're beginning to explore that reality now. And I think that's become evident after about, I'd say 2022, after like the COVID level of like internet usage and video game usage kind of went back down. And then also it wasn't recovering at the 20% or 10% year over year.
Chinese entertainment and, game studios, they know this, and they smell blood in the water.
You know why they know this? Because they do their research. They have a competent team. They sit there and they have people who actually go out and look, and get this information.
That too. But they also know that they don't have to play politics.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can say what you want, CCP, control of a lot of things, but these Chinese studios have just not even just Chinese, just Eastern in general. These studios have narrowed down that Western gaming has become so convoluted with ideological crap and all these layoffs and stuff like that. They can
They're
smell the
laughing at
blood.
us.
They smell the blood in the water, and they are going full speed ahead.
Yeah,
right now.
but why
And they're
wouldn't
going
you?
to come in 2025 and just deliver a knockout punch.
Why wouldn't they? Why
And
wouldn't they?
boy,
Do you see what they did with Black Myth Wukong
yeah,
in 1 month?
yeah.
Look what they did. They destroyed
15 million.
They
sold
destroyed
copies, more than
90%
that,
of the
I think.
games
I mean, that's
that came out this year. They destroyed 90% of the games that came out this year.
And that's the thing. It was so well done. Like Wukong really came out. I thought it was going to be good just by the trailers, but man, it blew me away.
Dude.
It blew me away. And then I see all these other games coming out, like Kazan, the first Berserker, Kazan. I saw,
Dude, oh my
that's what I want to
God.
see. I want to see
Yes.
that old school God of War action, fucking brutality.
Yes.
That's what you want to see. But these Western studios, man.
I mean, what's that one that we were talking about? The I'm not a what is it?
Ananta,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
The first.
I mean, look at that. I mean,
anime open world one. RPG.
How many? We looked at it. What was the pre?
It's 8.5 million pre-registers.
Ready to play, ready to go,
Ready
out
to
the
go.
gate. Oh my God, dude!
Because it was whimsical. It looked like it was going to be fun. It had a cool character designs, attractive females. I mean, it's such a simple concept.
There's only one game. There's only one game that can
like,
do that now.
These leads and these studios are like, oh, we're afraid of being called gooners and stuff like that. I mean, making attractive females, dude. Sell to your market.
Yeah, it's better. Here's the thing is, it's better to make an attractive female than an ugly female. I promise you.
Every time.
But there's only one game. There's only one game that America has that can put out those numbers, and it's not going to be out for a while. And it's Grand Theft Auto 6. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just like something so simple that they've gone away from when it comes to what matters to gamers and how to appeal to gamers like younger. I mean, even guys our age, but like you're 18 to 25, you're 25 to whatever 34 or whatever like that. Like appeal to them. Yes, it's going to be majority male. Okay, it is. Bottom line, gaming is majority male. But at the same time, you can create characters that appeal to everyone by making cool designs, cool backstories, well-written stuff. Don't make characters that appeal to no one except maybe like a 1% of people. And again, those 1% of people aren't playing your damn game. Yeah. They're not going to buy it. They might talk about it on social media, and they
might write about it on GameSpot and IGN,
but they're not going to play it. And it's a very small minority of people. All right, let's finish this.
Expectations that a lot of tech companies were, getting investments and under the expectation of. And so what I think is going to happen is, you're going to have a lot of these AAA studios that just simply can't meet the expectations of such a massive ship. It's like, how easy is it to turn a Titanic versus a Viking longboat, right? And that's why you see small games like Valheim doing a whole lot better than big games like Skull and Bones. And there it is, a quadruple A game. 1A for each player. And
Skull
so
and
that's
Bones
what happens. That's where I think things are going to go. And I think the future that we're really going to see is going to be in the indie studios and the AA studios that focus in and fixate on creating one AAA high-quality experience game. Like Path of Exile 2, Stalker 2, Baldur's Gate 3, stuff like that. And I think that's going to be the future of games. And you know what I think? I think that is such a good thing. That is an amazing, great thing, because those studios have a much better understanding of what the players want, and I'm a player, and that's what I want. So yeah, that's about it, guys. I thought I'd make this video and talk about this topic because I see a lot of people bringing it up very regularly, and I wanted to give my 2 cents. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Okay, you stopped it there.
Yep.
So, also, how about, here's a good idea. I got a good idea. Follow me if you follow me right here.
I'm following.
How about you go back to your old IP that you haven't used in a while and bring some of those games back? Squaresoft, you got 1,000 of them. Capcom, for the love of God, for the love of fuck, you brought back Onimusha. We talked about, I put, you're welcome, internet. I put that out in the universe. I did that.
No.
I said it. I said it.
No.
I said it.
No one cares. When you tweet, no, you get like 1 view.
Hey, that's fine.
When
But
you tweet, like, Onimusha, bring it back.
Exactly.
No
but
one
that
cares
one viewer,
what you say.
that one viewer was the CEO of Capcom. He saw
No,
it.
it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it's just
No.
about time they did bring Onimusha back.
But I'm just saying, man. Think of all the IP that they have that's just sitting on the shelf. Breath of Fire.
So many. But overall, Asmongold's video, I agree with a lot of what he's saying.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of their mistakes comes from who they're trying to appeal to in some of these games.
They're appealing to the wrong people. They're allowing the wrong people to call the shots. That's the problem.
And a lot of this is coming back, 4 or 5 years ago when these games were in development, of a different time, honestly, and before COVID and during COVID, a different time when it comes to how their, I guess, viewpoint shifted or how people were molded. And you see a lot of this in a lot of the games currently.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to bring it back to being simple. Put their little ideological viewpoints, all their weird activist stuff, put it in the back of your head and make a game that is going to appeal to gamers via character design and gameplay. Hellblade.
Remember that tweet?
Yeah,
that tweet you got that somebody says gameplay's not the most important thing.
Yeah, that was obviously not a gamer. Gameplay is, in fact, the most important thing about a game. But yeah, man, he makes some good points, and
I agree.
He makes some good points. But anyway, that's it.
All right, guys.
Closing arguments before we close?
No, but if you like us, and I hope you do, I hope you like us. We're good guys. Hey, don't you agree? Well, it's somewhat. This guy. He's all right. He's all right. Follow us on our YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. Listen to our podcast. We have 2 podcasts a week on Apple and Spotify. DMG Gaming Podcast. We're great. I make fun of Ed all the time.
Live podcast every Tuesday and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep. Every time Ed tries to get out online,
X and Rumble.
Every time Ed tries to get out online, I shove him in the locker. So tune in for that.
Disgruntled Middle-Aged Gamers. That's all you have to put. Or DMG Gaming Podcast to find us.
That's right. So I'm gonna shove Ed in the locker again. Do it again, like I always do.
What do you can't? I can't fit in a locker. What are you talking about?
You can't anymore.
My shoulders are too broad, bruh.
It's lard.
Shit.
Cheeseburgers. Cheeseburgers. Fat.
I know you ain't talking.
I know. I can't talk either.
All right. But yeah, guys, thanks. Subscribe, follow, like. And that's it.
See ya. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.